Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and it is my intention to take a short call here. I think that much has already been said on what is an incredibly important but a very small piece of legislation, and I would not like the not-so-invisible hand of the Speaker to intervene to keep me on track on this debate by traversing material that has already been traversed. There are a couple of instances that I would just like to draw the House's attention to, and some of these have been discussed. The first is the definition of built, and the definition of built is incredibly important because at the moment it is relying on the statutory definitions and the court cases that have come around that. And I think that by enacting this legislation and cleaning it up in this bill, that what we are stopping is a great deal of litigation that would go through our courts, not only clogging up our court system, but also at an immense cost to the homeowners. And what this case did draw the attention to, when there was the prospect of a class action of 500 potential claimants who were grouping together with the law firm Parker and Associates around the James Hardie Industries products that were used, was actually the paucity of law that we have in this country around group or class actions. And I think that's something that we're finding in a very similar way in the case of Christchurch and group or class actions there. So, Mr Speaker, it is good to see that cleared up in this legislation, so that is not going to need to be to address. The other point that I'd like to draw the House's attention to is the third change that this piece of legislation makes, so one of the three changes, and that of course is aimed at removing any doubt about the validity of the eligibility criteria for compensation as they were published in the Gazette notice. Of course, these were criteria that were developed under regulation in the primary legislation, and I think this does serve as a cautionary tale to the House that we have to be very, very careful when we are giving delegated regulatory powers to other bodies and tertiary instruments in a piece of legislation, because we may have to come back and do fix-up, and that is one of the changes that this piece of legislation is needing to make. It sounds very technical, the fact that you're coming back to fix the eligibility criteria, but as other members have talked about, that if you're one of those people that has a leaky home, where your security and your investment in your future really has been eroded, having the eligibility and your eligibility to compensation and the ability to get that fixed is incredibly important. So we do, as parliamentarians, have to think very carefully and examine very closely, both in this chamber and at the select committee stage, when we are enacting tertiary instruments and with the blowback that they can have and the unintended consequences that they can have. So, Mr Speaker, this is a saga that started in 1991, my last year of high school. So this is a saga that has been going on for quite some time in this country. It is a pleasure to be taking a call on this legislation tonight, and with Labor supporting this bill, because we do need to provide a remedy for the people that have been caught in this saga and their inability to get on with their lives. We know the kinds of strains that this puts on people's lives, and it is good to have this amendment bill and to clear up some of the ambiguities in this legislation. Thank you, Mr Speaker.